makes a better relationship?
Well, let's say that passion makes a fabulous, interesting relationship, but it can't sustain the relationship on its own. So I would say that long term, if we're talking about a long term relationship, that commitment has to be the first and foremost thing. You know, we talk about this a lot, that love is not an emotion, it is a decision. And I think that a lot of people romanticize the concept of love. They see someone, they go, oh, I just love that person. Well, what exactly does that mean? You can't love something that you don't know. So there has to be a commitment. When we look at relationships like in India, where there are arranged marriages, and we know across the board that these arranged marriages actually last longer than those when we put ourselves together. What's the difference? Commitment. They've made a decision to make it work.
Is it because there is a cultural thing more than anything else, as opposed to here where it's like, you know, we're driven by, you fall in love, you get married, if it doesn't work, you just divorce. Whereas over there, divorce is just not as accepted too? Is that also another?
Yes, I think society sets mores that make things acceptable or not acceptable. But I think that the lack of understanding is a bigger issue. For them, societally, it is important and acceptable to do an arranged marriage and to understand that once you're married, that's it. There's no option to get out. And I wish that the rest of us could adopt that theory, because we do have a tendency to feel, well, I'm going to do it. It feels good right now. And if it doesn't work, I'll just get out and do it again. And then we just have all these fractured people around who are broken and just slapping each other over their wounds like Band-Aids. And we're just infecting ourselves by just continuing the cycle. So it's very important to know that it's important to stick and stay in a relationship, and that there's a reward at the end of it when we do the work.
So, Michelle, what you were saying earlier on was basically that it depends on the stage of the relationship. Like, for instance, if it's short term, it's just basically fun, it's exciting, it's new. So then passion is important. It's all about passion.
Well, it's all about passion. It's all about lust.
Right.
Let's break it down and make it real.
If it's a long-term relationship or marriage or whatever, then you've been together for so long that the passion would have fizzled out. So basically, what you have left is dedication. Is that dedication that keeps you going?
Well, yes, but the passion doesn't necessarily have to fizzle out. And I think this is what we have to understand, that there are seasons in relationships. And a lot of things contribute to those seasons. We have seasons where the pressures of work or finance can press in and place a different emphasis on why you're together. As you get older in life, there's a comfortableness that comes in, and there's, in some cases for some people, not that much of an emphasis on sexual intimacy. They just enjoy one another's company, and you would look at them and say, oh, they're more like brother and sister, but that works for them. They're very happy. They're enjoying the companionship and the friendship that they have that's lasted over the years. But of course, initially when we all meet, there's that chemistry that happens. There's that wow factor. There's that thing that drives us to want to be together and to make the commitment. But then the commitment becomes the most important thing. At some point in time, I must make a decision that I am going to love you no matter what. Because guess what? One day you're going to disappoint me. One day you might betray me. What do I do on those days? One day you might just make a mistake. Do I just end the commitment at that point? At a job, when a boss yells at you, you don't leave because you want your check. You're committed.
So that's where dedication is important.
Hey, that's where dedication is important. You understand?
So basically, Michelle, the two go together, because you have to be dedicated to, sustain passion in the relationship.
Oh, passion is very important in a relationship. But as I've told you before on here, that when we first meet, there's a chemical release of oxytocin, which is a very real chemical that is released in us when we meet and fall in love. They actually say that when you fall in love, it erases 10 years off of you.
Oh, nice.
So it's actually quite the beautifier. I need to fall in love every day, right? But that's why people look like they're glowing, and you get that sense of, have you ever ran into somebody and you go, wow, what happened? They're glowing, and it's oxytocin. It's literally released into the system.
Buy it from the stores?
I wish. They are trying to bottle it. You know how we are as human beings. However, this is released, but it only sustains for about a year, and then it dies if it's not reignited. And so you have to literally form rituals in your relationship to keep passion at the same level.
Right.
Okay, so on the flip side, though, can you have dedication without passion?
Yes, you can.
And vice versa. So
Yes,
okay,
you can. You can have passion without commitment or dedication.
which is just fun
That's
time.
that's just fun time. It usually doesn't end in fun because somebody expected something else to come out of it. I mean, let's face it. We can say that, oh, I'm just doing this fling but that's just a lie to your heart because you expect to be disappointed. So you put on your defenses ahead of time and decide you're just going to have fun. But we as human beings are wired for permanency in relationships. So there's always the disappointment when the relationship does not work out, even when we tell ourselves it was just for fun. Once we've made that connection sexually, there is a bond that is formed. It's not just a physical activity. It is a spiritual activity that makes you one. The Word of God tells us that the two become one. And so it's very difficult to disengage. Have you ever noticed that it's easier to break up with someone that you haven't slept with versus someone you have? Because a bond is formed, a soul tie, as some preachers would say. So now, yes, you can have passion without commitment, but there's a cost for that. And you can have commitment without passion.
Wouldn't that be boring?
It could be.
The other way. So imagine, like, you're together, no passion in the relationship. You wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, come back.
But you see, I
Isn't
don't
that
know why,
boring?
Michelle, but I'm tending to lean more towards the dedication or the
Yes.
commitment bit because
Yes.
I think in the beginning it's all exciting.
The
I mean, the
butterflies.
sexual
And then reality sets in.
attraction
Yes.
and the lust and everything is there in the beginning, but
Yes.
you can't sustain that indefinitely.
Exactly.
The novelty will wear off.
It will. It
And
will.
then that's when you need the dedication or the commitment. That's when
Right.
you realize that you're with a real person who has flaws, who
Yes.
hurts you and all of that. So that's when you need that dedication and the commitment to kick in.
It's
so you
true.
can sustain that relationship. So for me, I don't know. I'm just leaning a bit more towards.
The-
You can always have passion. You can always
Yes,
revive it.
you can revive
because
it.
passion will fizzle out. It will
It
die
will.
down
No,
a
it
bit,
will
no
not.
matter what.
But
so you have to have that dedication
true.
to keep that passion going.
But that's what the rituals in your relationship are all about. Is where you do the things that you know stir up those feelings. When you set the atmosphere for love in your home with music and candles, and you make that person feel special for the evening, or you call them in the morning and you call them at noon and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. You know, foreplay begins before you hit the bedroom. It starts at the beginning of the day and it builds up to making that person long for you and desire you by the time you see them. And these are things that we don't really talk about in our society a lot. Those delicate little things, the little foxes that can ruin the vine. But I think that you're right. I think that dedication and commitment are first and foremost because they go the distance no matter what. That is actually a form of love. That is agape love. That is that unconditional love that you've decided you're going to love this person no matter what. And let me tell you, there is a reward for that. If you can get through those tough places, when you see people who have those really sweet marriages, and you go, oh my goodness, your marriage looks so wonderful, they'll tell you, honey, it wasn't always that way. We went through some things. So literally trials and brokenness actually make us stronger as a couple. It's surviving those hard times that bonds us together and deepens our commitment one to the other. So we shouldn't be shocked and taken aback when things come up in the relationship that you didn't anticipate.
Exactly.
What about, Michelle, sometimes when you find yourself in a relationship and you're not on the same page? So
That
maybe
happens a lot.
the passion is gone, and so what if one person is utterly dedicated, but yet the other person is
Well, that's the reality of relationships and the cycle of relationships, that one is usually carrying the other, and then the tables turn. And once again, depending on what's going on in the lives of people, the stresses from the outside world, because unfortunately we can't be just contained in our homes together. There's a world out there, and we interact with it, and different pressures set in. Employment issues, finances, health issues. What about if the passion is gone because something is happening physically and there's illness? There must be dedication. There must be commitment. These are the things that we have to decide to. When we say our vows as married people, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, forever and ever, amen. It is making a statement of dedication and commitment. I think what happens is we've killed ourselves with the media. Because in the media, love looks good all the time.
Telenovelas.
Nobody ever goes through anything, or if they do, it only lasts for an hour, and then the problem is solved, right? Or we do it in the sequel. But that's not how life works. Sometimes you weather storms. I have a girlfriend whose husband was on drugs, and he lost his job. It caused him to go into horrible financial decay. They lost their home. They were moving around like little gypsies because of his situation. And some people were saying, why don't you just leave this man? He's not serious. He won't get himself together. And she said, but I made a commitment to him. I said vows before God, and I'm responsible to honor those. And we could not understand why she just would not let this man go, because there were times when they separated. And she would always do so much better when she was on her own. But she felt dedicated to her marriage. And this went on not for 1 year, not for 2 years. It went on for 20 years.
Whoa. That is some serious dedication.
But you know what? They got to the other side of it. And they're still together now. Their marriage is wonderful. He's off drugs. And they have a beautiful relationship. And now she's gotten ill in her older age, and he's there to take care of her. So see, there's some things that we sacrifice when we refuse to be dedicated and committed to our relationships. We must think about and consider what we value most. When we think about the long term, do you want to be there alone? Do you want to be 60, 70, 80 years old alone because you could not weather a storm in your present relationship?
I also feel that over-reliance and passion can be dangerous.
Most definitely.
After it dwindles or it fades out, you begin to doubt the relationship.
Exactly.
And then you want out. Mm-hmm. And then you want to move on to the next person. And then it becomes a sort of cycle. It becomes a pattern that you can't get. Because you just crave that passion. And it only comes at the beginning of the relationship.
Yes. And I think that this is very important, especially for men. Because men are so driven by all of those things that rise up in them. And so, as long as they're feeling passionate, they're really into you. But when it settles into the reality of the relationship, then they start to say, well, am I really in love with this person? And then they see someone else that brings that rise. And so obviously that person is now the person. Where that's not exactly true. And you have to take the time, once again, to recultivate passion. To have that conversation with your mate and say, we need to do something to stir this up because this is where I am. And so communication comes into play with following through with dedication. Because it's very important for us to know, once again, that love and passion are not really feelings. They walk hand in hand with decision. I make a decision. I make a decision to be kind and patient. Let's look at the definition of love. Once again, I should have my phone so I can pull it up. But, I love what the Message Bible says about it. I love the different translations. When you read it, it's about patience. It's about kindness. It's about long suffering, it says. So there's a hint there that there will be some suffering involved, even when you're in love and you're passionate about someone, that you won't keep a record of their wrongs, that you will always want the best for them, that you'll always want truth in the center of your relationship, that you will rejoice when good things happen for that person. So it says love never fails. So the bottom line is that love really is dedicated. It makes a decision to be dedicated and committed. I'm committed to you, Amma, as a friend and a sister, and you too, Sandra. So one day you're going to say something that upsets me. Do I end our friendship? Do I end my sisterhood with you? No, I come to you and I say, Sandra or Amma, I don't like what happened in our relationship. Let's thrash this out because I'm committed to you as a friend. So it even starts in training with your friends. How many people get upset with someone and walk off and then they don't speak to the person forever?
Too many times. It happens too many times.
Yes.
Can you relate?
I feel you, girl.
Can you relate?
I can't relate, but I know you can.
Yeah. And so this is the groundwork. This is the practice arena for the long-term relationship. Learning how to thrash out those issues. Really getting in that person's face and saying, no, I'm not letting go of you no matter what. We're going to talk about this and we're going to get it straight. And you know what? We can even agree to disagree. But at least we will acknowledge one another's reality of how we made one another feel. and then decide to move on in love. It's a decision.
Okay, this is what I want to ask, because I totally watched the video there. I thought it was the other way around, but it says that men are more romanticized, just like you said,
yes,
about relations, and women are more practical.
I thought it was the other way around.
I romanticize probably more. I was like, oh, I think most women do. As girls, you grow up, you read, fairy tales, and you expect your Prince Charming, and you live happily ever after.
Women put up with much more in relationships than men do. We weather the storm. Oh, my husband, this is the 20th time he's cheated. I'm still here. A man doesn't do that.
Oh, if you cheat once,
you're finished. So it's very important for us to know that, yes, men have all these wonderful romantic feelings, and they have an idea in their head of how the relationship should look and how it should feel. Whereas women, we become mothers. That's the thing.
That's the reality sets in.
Reality sets in for us that we have other responsibilities beyond ourselves. And we are every woman to everyone, and to the neglect of ourselves, sadly to say, in a lot of instances. So for us, women are wired for commitment. They really are. And they love passion, but they will stay beyond the passion.
So, Michelle, what is passion in a relationship? Is it like intimacy?
It has a lot to do with intimacy. It has to do with all those wonderful chemical feelings bursting. It's the heat of the moment. It's the drama of it all. It's the sexiness. It's that rush you get, I remember a friend of mine that I'm always counseling as he bounces from woman to woman to woman. He's a good example of this. He falls in love very quickly, and he's divorced, and his wife left him. And she was quite glamorous and beautiful, so I kind of worry about him that he'll find the proper replacement. But because now he has fantasies about how the woman should look, and she was not the norm. Okay, so now he's in a search to replace that, and he's trying desperately to do that. But the first little thing that someone does, he's put off. And he's on to the next, and then he'll text me and say, "This one is the one." And he's bought the ring now at 3 times in the last year.
That's the passion that's kicked in the beginning.
Yes,
right? And then it simmers down.
And so now I've kind of gotten to the place where I weather these things with him, and just kind of watch my watch to see how long this one will last. So I've actually referred him back to one that he dumped at this point because of her dedication to him, and he's realizing that she was dedicated and committed, and that he was not. And so he's willing to give it the second less. So I'm kind of coaching him through the relationship now. And I actually think this one will work. Now, she's not the complete fantasy, but she has what he values most. He wants someone who's going to be consistent in his life and be there for him. I finally said, "What is it that you value most?" He said, "I just want a woman in my life that I know really loves me and has my back." So I said,
Aren't
okay.
we all looking for that?
I know. And I said, well, you had that person and you dumped her, so go back and get her. And when he called her, she wept and said she lived outside of the city. And she said to him, you know what she said? He texted
I'm tearing
me.
up right now, like I'm a sucker for
I know. But what was so funny was she said to him, because she lived outside of the city and he was driving every weekend to go and see her and everything. And he's finally said to her, I'm not feeling the drive anymore. She said, I will move.
Move in?
She said, I will move. And he was so shocked. She said she would find a job and move to the city where he was.
Well, eventually they'll move.
I hope he marries her.
He will.
That's a lot of sacrifice and
He
dedication.
will marry her. And I told him, I said, okay, what I want you to do this time is walk slowly and not allow her to do that until you know that you can be fully invested in her. Yeah. Because you don't want her to end up giving up everything for you. And then you say, not! Because she's not really his physical type. And I said, once again, what do you value most? Because as you age, your body will change, and that will become less significant to you. So let us look at the qualities of what you're really looking for that can go the long-term distance.
Okay, before we end, let's take a vote. Passion or dedication?
Dedication, and I think passion comes out of that.
Yeah, I agree totally with Michelle. Dedication, and then passion will come. Or you can always be proactive about it. You can always revive.
Yes.
Passion.
Let's make up our minds when we decide to get in a relationship that getting out is not an option. And if there was no option, if divorce was not legal and you couldn't get out, what would you do to make your relationship work?
Yeah. What about you? Passion or dedication?
A bit of both.
I must have passion.
Will come passion.
Yeah, passion.
Yeah.
I like passion though. But
We all love passion.
yeah, no, but I think you're certainly right. You can't, you know, you need
can't
both
really
at one
both,
point.
yeah.
You have
and certainly
to.
when the passion is gone, really, you have
Yeah,
to.
because
There's nothing left.
there are
Yeah.
definitely going to be lulls in the relationship. Passion's not going to be present every day. It's not. And I don't want you to get fooled into thinking that just because you wake up and you're not feeling passionate that day that you're out of love. You're not. It's just another season in the relationship. Weather it, get through it, and get to the other side.
Nice. I want to say thank you, Michelle, for that.
You're welcome.
I was taking notes, Sandra.
Oh, I always take notes on Michelle. I always take notes on Michelle.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, well, there you have it. Our lifestyle segment proudly brought to you by Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature. Don't go anywhere. We have more coming up right here on New Day.